Okay. I don't like that the couch isn't centered, but I really just I didn't care enough to fix that. Um so I learned that it does not fix the mirroring issue when I do live streams from my phone now, which means that you are seeing a mirrored version of me. It is what it is. I don't like it, but technically that means you're seeing what I'm seeing, because it always showed me the mirrored version, but it showed you the, normal version. But it's okay. It is what it is. Do I need to adjust this at all, or am I good? I think I'm good. So, yeah, the last time I went on here and went live, it was, I think, a month ago to the day, pretty much. And I just kind of did something like this, called it What I've Learned This Year. And this is, I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about, but I really just wanted this to be kind of open ended. I don't really expect anybody to tune in, and honestly, it's probably better if I don't engage too much with the audience, um, because I don't know, it just, unless there's like actual questions being asked, there are some people, not gonna name names, there are some people who will come on here and treat it like a phone call where they're gonna catch up with me, and they don't seem to consider that this is a public live stream. So if those people or that person happens to show up, I'm gonna just probably, wave at most, but not do much more than that. Um, but yeah, I want to talk about some of the things I was planning on making videos about. I got a comment this morning. I saw it this morning, I think, but it was from a couple days ago, and it was about the controversy that I covered with Melanie Martinez and Timothy Heller, I believe. Give me a moment. So I I get a lot of comments on those videos because they're popular. People care about that topic. Well, there are two eggs. My head is covering the other one. Anyway, um, I do get a lot of comments on that kind of shit, and some of them are negative. Most of them are positive, but the negative ones, those are the interesting ones. Because, like, as much as I appreciate people being supportive and saying nice things and agreeing with me, I find it interesting when people disagree with me or have a critique or something negative to say, and I like to not just dismiss it. But the one that I actually found really interesting was I watched this video the other day because it was suggested to me about Colleen Ballinger and about her trying to get on some podcast with That's So Raven or something like that. And I watched the video and it made me want to talk about it again. And I thought about making a video called Why Did I Defend Colleen Ballinger or something like that. And the purpose would be to kind of mislead people. I mean, you see a title like that, there's a couple ways to interpret it. I could be asking, um, genuinely, saying, like, why did I do that? Or I could be asking rhetorically, which is actually what I'm doing. Because I know why I did it, and I know what I was doing. If I actually regretted it and I was like, what was I thinking? Then I would have taken it down. But I don't regret it because I do know what I was thinking. But it might be worth touching on again, since I mean, hearing that video, it really reminded me of all the reasons that people were so upset with her, and it also reminded me of what drove my passion in making my video. So I'll touch on it briefly here, but I don't know. I mean, I might do an actual video about this. I think that throughout my life, I have consistently enjoyed making people uncomfortable, whether it be through humor or, I mean, anything really. I just like making people laugh. I like making people uncomfortable. It's a lot of fun. It just is. And, you know, that's my sense of humor. I I believe that in life we are supposed to learn how to be uncomfortable. And if you spend all your life focused on preserving your comfort, you're not growing. You're not doing anything. You're just sort of staying stuck, which is tragic. And really, that's really sad. And no one should have to do that. So what I like to do is I rustle people's feathers a little bit, and I have no skin in the game. I don't care. Um, One thing that I really enjoyed about the whole defending Colleen thing that I did in 2023, I think it was that people got so mad at me and only proved my point. However, I did have to learn how to not engage with comments. I think I was a little bit unprepared for how it was going to make me feel to receive that kind of negative criticism because I do, and again, it only proves their point, or my point, I'm sorry. Um, I do take things like that to heart. I take it seriously. When people say things, I tend to want to listen to them. I was just in an abusive relationship, and he said a lot of really cruel things to me, and I believed him because it was easier than fighting. And I don't like to dismiss constructive criticism, but the thing is, there's nothing constructive about it. Um, and that was exactly what I was doing. I am someone who doesn't really believe in punishment. You know, people try to choose if someone deserves punishment or rehabilitation, but I think that those should not be seen as two different things. There's justice and there's injustice. It's that simple. And I think that two wrongs don't make a right. I think that it isn't healthy to give all of your time and energy and attention helping somebody who doesn't want to be helped. However, if it's literally your job and you spend every day trying to help people, regardless of whether or not they want to be helped, not because you're expecting to get something out of it, but because that's just your position in life, that's what you do, that's your work, it's different, you know? And there should be facilities and positions where people are just focusing on helping people because prison is used, in my opinion, as a way to just sort of throw away disposable people, right? You're just like, okay, get this person away from society. But nobody seems to care what happens to them after that. Well, first of all, they're going to get out of prison eventually, you know? Um, and if they aren't, and they're going to be in there for the rest of their lives, then why are they even alive? I mean, at that point, if you never want them back in society, why not just give them the death penalty? It just, there's a bit of a, I can't follow the logic, I guess. Um, but, you know, it's, when somebody does get out of prison, they're not changed. You know, in prison, people are not given the help that they need to be rehabilitated. They're just in a timeout, basically. And if they do grow during that time, it is completely coincidental. It's not because it was designed to help them grow. So I think that that is tragic, and I don't think that's how anything should be set up in the world. Um, because if someone really is disposable, then why even keep them alive? So I want to talk about since no one's in here asking me questions and I called this an open Q&A, I'm going to just start talking about an interesting topic that I actually forgot. I have been wanting to do a video about this. And this is the two types of messed up people. So there are the people who do messed up things without the intention of hurting people. And then there are the people who do messed up things because of the fact that it hurts people. And that's the goal. So the reason that I differentiate between those two is because it matters a lot what the intention is. Now, in terms of how the victim is affected, it doesn't matter. intention is irrelevant. The victim doesn't care that you cut their legs off because you were having a bad day. All they care is that you've cut their legs off and they don't have legs anymore because of some fault on your end. Some you dropping the ball in some way, like a drunk driver crashing into people, whatever. Um, you permanently disfigure somebody. They don't care what your reason was. They care that their life is never going to be the same anymore. So that's the difference. But in terms of how you address the perpetrator, it absolutely matters what their intention was. Because if their intention was not to harm anyone, but they're just maybe really low IQ, or maybe they're like dealing with mental health issues, or maybe they just have a really big ego and they just can't admit fault. These are all fear-based things, They're not coming from a place of empathy, faith, compassion, love, any of that. These are fear. It's about seeing yourself as small and incapable of doing the right thing even when it's hard, having patience, having faith. You're just trying to control things. You're trying to take the easy route. You're trying to cheat. Skip ahead. Um, and this mentality can lead to a lot of really horrible things. However, it doesn't mean the person likes that horrible things are happening. It just means that they don't want to take responsibility for their role in it. And when given a choice between the right thing to do, which is for the benefit of the majority, versus the easier thing to do, which is for their own benefit, their own ego or whatever, um, they will always choose their ego. And then there is the other type of person. And honestly, I can't think of another word other than just evil. These are the scariest types of people. They're pretty rare, but they absolutely exist. These are people who are not fear based. They're not going out of their way. They're their entire journey in life is causing pain. That is the purpose of what they're doing. And I could speculate as to what the reason is. Maybe they're some kind of inhuman spirit in the shape of a human, or maybe they're possessed, or maybe it's just a psychological condition. You know, you could spend all day coming up with theories about why this type of person exists, but all that we know for sure is that this type of person does exist. And I have seen people who do things where you cannot trace um, any sort of motive other than they just enjoyed disrupting things, making life harder for other people, seeing somebody getting enjoyment out of something and just wanting to take it away. Um, and these are often people who, there are different levels. I mean, there's smaller scale that could even fall under the petty category where it's like they just they just let jealousy take over. They don't like seeing other people happy because they're not happy or whatever. Sometimes there is a personal motive. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when the only motive is that they enjoy making other people suffer. It's not from some deep psychological wound that they have. It isn't from a place of jealousy. It isn't about personal satisfaction at all. It is just about causing pain. Um, and those types of people, honestly, I think, I wouldn't even necessarily oppose the death penalty. But the problem with those types of people is that they know how to not get caught. Um, because the whole point is to cause pain, and they're smart, which means they're not impulsive. They're not doing things that are going to get them caught. They know exactly what they're doing. Everything is calculated and planned out, and they're not going to end up in jail. They know how to get away with it because it's not an accident. It's premeditated. And that's terrifying. But yeah, sadly, those people exist. And these are not criminals that you'll find in jail, okay? I'm talking about your coworkers, your parents, your friends. These people are around, you know? Um, and you have to keep your guard up and watch out because they're everywhere. It is rare for that to truly be the motive, but people who hurt people, they're not that uncommon. Um, so the ones who probably have the best chance of getting better are usually the ones who mess up and get caught because it's just an impulse. It's reactionary. It's not cold and calculated and premeditated. So sadly, those are the ones who don't get help because they just get thrown in jail, and then it just makes it worse because jail doesn't help people. So, the reason that I'm talking about this is because, I really don't like seeing people end up in situations like that because it doesn't help them. And I brought this up, I think, in reference to the controversy that I was referring to with like Melanie Martinez or Colleen Ballinger, because I see a lot of people develop this sort of mob mentality. And I want to touch on something else that is really, really important and not talked about enough. People love to take the easy way, People will learn what the right thing to do is, but when push comes to shove, they don't want to do it. Um, and I mean, that's fine if you're going to be inconsequential, It's fine if you're going to be not making anybody's life worse. And I say fine lightly because, sometimes you do have to kind of get up and fight. You have a place on this planet. You have to do at least something. And I'll be honest, there isn't a ton that I currently do, but there's a ton that I'm planning on doing, a ton that I'm planning on doing. And I use platforms to speak out and educate people, so I'm at least putting some kind of good into the world. And even if you're just a therapist who helps people, or an activist who protests, or whatever, if you just spend your time at a homeless shelter feeding people or whatever, anything, any little thing, even a social media post, just something to educate people, not to make yourself look good, not to follow the herd and do what everyone else is doing, but because you're passionate about something and you want to speak up about it. You're putting light out into the world. That's something worth doing. But there are people who don't care to do that. There are people who don't spend any of their time or energy on trying to make the world a better place. And then there's the opposite, the people who actively do things to make the world worse. And to those people, just a quick side tangent, I want to say, um, there there is no such thing as a historical popular movement that you think of as horrible that wasn't thought of as noble at the time. You might think, well, slavery and racism and the KKK and all of that, well, that was awful and sick, and we were just stupid back then. So, you know, that means that we're not doing anything like that today. It's in the past. And, because why would we do that? That's ridiculous. But the thing is, they didn't think it was ridiculous. They thought they were doing something good. They were told that it was the right thing to do because those slaves were their property. Black people were demonized and thought of as this subhuman type of thing. Um, some people even used the Bible to justify it. Not even kidding. Like, so when people go around today acting like they're doing something good and noble, I just want you to know people who do horrible things always think they're doing something good and noble historically. And they could be doing the most horrible thing in the world and still feel like it's justified. So it's not it's not as simple as you think, asking yourself, am I on the right side of history? But the simplest answer is if there is a group or a type of person that is being stigmatized, marginalized, mistreated, or their autonomy is being threatened, you might want to step in and defend them. Because ask yourself, how would I feel if I were in their position? That is all it takes. If the slave owner said, how would I feel if I was this person that I'm owning? Maybe they wouldn't do it. There's a lack of empathy. So you can cognitive dissonance yourself into a pretzel if you want to, but that is how you untwist yourself. It's that simple. Empathy is all it takes. So my political takes are all driven by empathy and logic. So when I hear people try to justify a political take that they think is noble and is about protecting people, and they think they're doing something good. But there's a whole other group of people arguing that they're doing something horrible, and you have to stand in the middle and say, well, which one is right? They're both saying that the other side is doing horrible things, and they both believe that they're doing something good. Well, how do you know? How do you know which is which? Use your empathy. Ask yourself how you would feel if you were that person, and don't be manipulated. I will warn you, people like to use children to manipulate people and babies. That's a popular tactic because obviously children and babies are seen as vulnerable and innocent. But keep an eye out, you know? People will use that to trick you into overriding your logic and just being like, oh my God, we have to protect innocence. It's like, well, use your head. People do that with attacking LGBT people. They say that trans people are predators and they're child predators and they're gonna get your children. They're trying to get your children. Watch out, they're gonna make your kids gay. They're gonna molest your kids. They're whatever. You know, they say this kind of stuff and they frame it as we're protecting innocent children from predators. But I mean, that's always how it's been seen. Even with abortion, it's like, oh well, you know, we're gonna force a woman to go through an irreversible bodily experience that could even be fatal because we can't. We have to protect the baby. Um, and what are they with like immigrants and stuff? It's like, oh well, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. You know, like, do you not see? I mean, it's very transparent when you lay it out like this. Um, they're using children and animals in order to get you to feel justified in attacking innocent people based on gender, gender preference, identity, expression, and skin color. With the immigrants thing, how do you tell if you're looking at an immigrant? Black and brown people. That's what people look for. When you think of an immigrant, do you picture someone like me? Absolutely not. When you think of an immigrant, you picture somebody with an accent or somebody with darker skin, you know, somebody who maybe looks or sounds like they don't belong here. And the first thought you're going to have is that they snuck their way into the country and they're living here illegally and they're eating your pets, you know? This is what our president is preaching about. Keep that in mind. Um, so it is racist and xenophobic by definition. Um, and all it does is perpetuate harm. And yet the people doing the harm think that they're protecting innocence. That's how they get you. They try to play on your empathy, but they also depend on you being a little bit gullible and naive and, you know, easily led. And and I mean, I hate to. It's just stupid. It's pure stupidity at this point. Because if you have not used your head to realize that there is a clear right and wrong here, I don't know what I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're gonna have to at some point claim your agency. You know, it's never too late. If you haven't been doing it all this time, start now. Use your head. It's okay. You don't have to feel bad about being late to the party. Just don't get defensive and upset and be like, "Hey, you're calling me stupid." Like, well, then stop being stupid. I don't know what to tell you. It's up to you. Your future's in your hands. Yeah, that's true for everybody. You don't have to make. That's the key. You don't have to make everything about you. Not everything has to be existential, life or death. Not everything has to be a personal attack on your ego. Get your ego out of the picture. This isn't about you. Start thinking about how you can make a better impact on the world and protect people. Look at who actually needs protection, who is in danger, and try to protect those people. You know, common sense. So, you know, it's really not that hard if you're willing to educate yourself. If you have questions, skepticism, I get it. There's a lot of brainwashing that you have to undo. You've been through the ringer. If you are open to trusting that I know what I'm talking about, you can ask me questions and I will answer every single one of them. But if you are trying to argue with me or have a debate with me, you're wasting your time and you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm not doing that. I don't engage in silly debates over nothing, you know. not privately anyway. I would maybe do it publicly for the sake of education, but I don't really see I don't know if I even see a purpose to that. Debates in general are not really that healthy or productive. They can be fun, but it doesn't really do anything. Because if you want to educate people, the best way to do it is to just speak out and tell the truth, and people will hear you and follow you if they're ready. But yeah. Anyway, excuse me. Um, Little sidetrack there. What I was trying to talk about was the neutral people, the ones who don't really have an opinion. They're just kind of like stepping back and not really being involved or doing anything. I get it. At least you're not actively participating in the harm and the problems, but you don't want to be living under a rock either. You want to educate yourself on where the world could use your help and what types of people need you on their side, defending them, standing in solidarity with them. And you don't want to let your ego get in the way and be like, well, I don't know if I technically agree with that. Like, I get it. I can respect trying to be fair and neutral and intelligent, but people need to be held accountable. And when people are actively doing harmful, dangerous, or stupid things, they need somebody to put them in timeout because somebody didn't do that when they were a kid, apparently. I mean, I'm not saying that timeout is necessarily beneficial to kids. I could go on and on about parenting, common mistakes in parenting, but I don't want to do that right now. Um, what I'm saying more is that certain things just shouldn't be indulged. That you shouldn't just let a kid think that it's okay to behave in certain ways. And when the kid develops the understanding that you aren't going to be able to control them, they think that they can pull shit on you. They think that you know, they can get away with things, right? They can um, they can do things behind your back, and you will never find out. They can lie to you. Um, they can, you know, they can sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. They can manipulate you into into doing whatever they want, and you'll basically just be a pushover and let it happen. This isn't healthy for them. And I'm not saying the alternative is beat them, scare them, punish them into submission. That will send them too far in the other direction. Or it might just teach them how to be better at sneaking around you. Either way, that doesn't work. Um, but you definitely want to hold them accountable. And too many adults, especially men, it's mostly men, I hate to say, but or privileged people of some class, because we live in Western society. There are types of people that are privileged, and by that I mean they are more likely to get away with things. It's a form of being spoiled. Um, the most privileged class would obviously be the old, rich, white, straight man. Um, and then you have white women, and as at the very bottom, you have like people of color, black and brown people, women, indigenous people, um, LGBTQ people, people with disabilities, just the people that really they have to do extra work in order to be taken seriously. I don't know if you've seen Wicked. I just saw Wicked for Good, the part two, because did a they did movies of the musical, the Broadway musical, and they split it into two separate parts, two movies. So I watched the second one a few days ago, and I really loved how they touched on this kind of stuff. And there was a scene at the end where, um, you know what? Spoiler alert. Um, Elphaba is not actually wicked. Um, the Wicked Witch of the West is just used as an easy target. People will say that she's wicked because she knows the truth. that the Wizard of Oz is a fraud. He doesn't have magic. He is abusing animals and locking them in cages and taking their voices away. And he tricked her into disfiguring his monkeys and giving them wings. And they had to turn her into a wicked witch. And Glinda, this beautiful white woman who was loved and adored by everybody and was popular and very good at interacting with people, she was kind of a coward and would just sort of, she was trying to get Elphaba to like see things from the wizard's perspective, but Elphaba, her integrity was too strong. She wouldn't do it. By the end of the movie, Glinda finally had this like waking up moment, and she decided that she was done not doing the right thing. And she went to rescue Elphaba, and Elphaba decided that she had to sacrifice herself. And she said, Glinda, don't tell anybody the truth about me. Let them think I'm wicked. Um, let them think that I am um, this awful person. And Glinda's confused, and she says, but why? Um, you know, you deserve the truth to be known. And, you know, Elphaba says, yeah, but look at me. Um, just, I'm green. Just imagine what the mob mentality sees when they look at me. Do you think you're ever going to be able to get people to take my side? If you go out there and you act like you're friends with me, it's only going to take away your credibility. But you can continue my work if you remain credible. If anything, you can do things I was never able to. And sure enough, right after Elphaba fakes her death, um, Glinda thinks she's dead, and she does continue her work. She gets rid of the wizard and Miss Morrible, and she takes care of all of this shit in one fell swoop. That was all it took, was Glinda using her power. Because Elphaba was limited. Elphaba couldn't do it herself. She just had a disadvantage. Because she was born green, she couldn't help that she was green. And you know, that is a perfect representation of what it's like in the real world for people, you know? The animals couldn't use their voices. I mean, just really think about this shit. It's a very clever film. Um, so I sorry, give me a moment. I'm getting distracted. I think I have ADHD. Um, I have always been introspective and curious about the world, and I've always tried to do the right thing and be brave, and it is often very lonely because you kind of just feel like you're going through life by yourself. Like you don't really have anybody who fully gets it. You have people who maybe want what you have, people who wish that they could be as strong as you, people who want to lift you up and encourage you, but not people who stand there beside you in your strength. And when you find people like that, they stand out, you know? And you just kind of have an unspoken agreement. I do know a couple people that I really admire and look up to. Um, but yeah, in general, I have always felt kind of alone in a lot of things. Like, then I found somebody who made me feel seen. I felt like somebody was just designed for me, and I felt like it was too good to be true because it meant that I could finally have a partner who just feels like he was just mine. I could just keep him and have him beside me. But he was he was just not strong enough to choose me, and he hurt me in a way that that I never could have anticipated. And he is currently in jail because of this. But for 8 months, I was with this person, and I thought that I didn't think I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him, but I knew that it was just an illusion. I would have done anything to make it real, but I could feel him slipping away from the moment I met him. I felt how fragile it was, but I liked the illusion so much, I just couldn't, I couldn't bear to admit that it was really just temporary, but it was, and I'm disappointed in him. I think that's the saddest part. I'm not mad at him, I don't hate him, I'm just disappointed, because he had so much potential. He could have done so much more with his life, with his intelligence. I thought he had a lot of potential, and I thought that we looked good together. I thought that we just made sense together. I thought that we understood each other, and in some ways we did, but he was too narcissistic. He could never really show true vulnerability, and that ultimately became his undoing. Before him, I was with somebody who was safe and I knew wouldn't break my heart, but I just couldn't connect with him. You know, that sense of like loneliness was really there, you know, because I just saw the world in a very different way from the way he did, and we were together for a couple of years. He was even in some of my old live streams, but yeah, he just eventually he just started to feel more like a brother to me than a partner, and I just couldn't pretend anymore. Once I met the one who's in jail, everything just became impossible to deny that it was just wasn't working. But yeah, he and I are not on bad terms. He still hangs out with my family. He feels like a brother, honestly. And that's okay, you know? But I'm alone again. And I'm alone because my last partner, my fiance, I moved in with him, and then he, after a few months of living there, decided that he just couldn't choose me. So he broke up with me, and then he had a breakdown and attacked me with a gun and got arrested. So yeah, I haven't seen him since. Not normal to break up that way. Normally when you break up with somebody, you have a chance to get some closure, you know? You can talk to them, discuss it, try to make sense of it, especially when it's in a heated fight, you know? They have time to come down and discuss it when they're level-headed. But I didn't get that luxury. It ended in a way that I never could have imagined, and I didn't get the chance to talk to him after he calmed down. And I don't currently have any idea what is going on in his head. And that is very unusual in terms of how breakups usually go. And it's disorienting and weird, but it is what it is. So yeah, that was at the end of September. So it's been almost 2 months since then. And I've just been reflecting a lot and trying to educate myself on what exactly it is that I went through and why it affected me the way that it did. And I'm always learning more about that. But I've gone all over the place in this live stream. I've talked about a lot of things that I kept getting on side tangents and not actually fully wrapping up my topic and my thoughts. So, you know, I know what it's like, I guess, talking about being lonely. I know what it's like to feel like Elphaba, you know, to just accept that you might be doing the right thing, but you're gonna feel alone. And that's okay. You you are better off feeling alone than being like Glinda. I mean, look at Elphaba and Glinda. Glinda had all the popularity, all the love, all the fame, and Elphaba had nothing. But at least Elphaba was doing the right thing. And, you know, Elphaba got Fiero, and Glinda, she, her heart was empty. She was kind of living in a bubble, which is interesting, you know, but she popped her bubble and she decided to step into her power, and she felt better because that is the right thing to do. And much like Elphaba, by that point, she was alone. But it's just how life goes sometimes, you know? It's not always pretty, it's not always easy, and you don't always get everything you want. You don't always get a happy ending. But the right thing to do doesn't depend on your personal happiness and instant gratification. It's okay to want things in life. It's okay to have desires. It's okay to acknowledge your role in everything. Um, but the truth is, um, just because you deserve happiness and good things doesn't mean it's always going to look like what you want it to look like. You have to get the instant gratification mentality out of your head because it doesn't serve you. Instant gratification is a trick. It's like you know, you're seeing the false ending, and they're basically saying, do you want 5 coins and no work, or a ton of work but 100 coins? And the thing is, those 100 coins aren't guaranteed, you know, but the work is guaranteed to have a positive impact on the rest of the world. So even if you don't get those 100 coins, you did at least make a positive difference in the world. Um, and you, even if you don't get those 100 coins, there will always be another opportunity. You can either say, oh, damn it, I did all that work and I didn't get the 100 coins. Well, I guess I made the wrong choice, and next time I'm gonna just go for the easy option. But if you keep making the right choice, eventually you'll get 200 or 300 coins. But your faith needs to be tested first. Are you gonna keep doing the right thing even if a reward isn't guaranteed? Or are you gonna just act like the right thing suddenly doesn't matter because you're not getting what you want? That's the mentality that you have to shift yourself into. And, you know, you could learn from watching Wicked. That is what Elphaba does. That's what she embodies. Um, but it's not easy, you know, in practice. I want to say with my last relationship, um, I was, you know, focused more on what I wanted than what the right thing to do was, because I saw myself as small. I didn't think that I was strong enough to do the right thing. It was coming from a place of fear. Fear that I wouldn't be able to handle doing the right thing. Fear that I was too small, too weak, and just not capable of owning my power. And it's because I um my my he tried to break me down. I think that my voice, my ability to control myself, the fact that I have integrity, I think all of that made him feel self-conscious around me. I don't think he liked that. So he tried to spin it around on me and make it seem like I'm the one with issues and he's totally fine. But in reality, it was the other way around. But he couldn't let me see that, so he broke me down until I felt small and started to believe that I couldn't live without him. It started with me just simply not wanting to give it what it was worth and fight for it. But it ended with me feeling like I literally couldn't do it. And, that was not easy. But it's okay because I'm okay. I'm still here. And I remember that before I knew he existed, I was planning on continuing to live my life anyway. And that's okay. I got a little closer to myself, I got to know myself better, and I'm coming out of this with a level of confidence that I don't think can be shaken again, because I will never forget the feeling of having a gun in my face and knowing that I could have died at any moment if he had wanted me to. My life was in his hands, which is a metaphor for the whole relationship. I put my life in his hands. I put my fate in his future, and I couldn't accept that that wasn't healthy for either of us. It wasn't healthy because it enabled him and put him in an unfair position, and it wasn't healthy because it took away my own power and made me completely dependent on him. And he wanted me to feel guilty about that, but the truth is he crafted it. He he set it up that way. He came on to me. He asked me to marry him. He described our relationship as anomalous, like we were in the stars. He put himself in that role and then started breaking me down. He started by lifting me up and saying all these wonderful things about me, and then he started breaking me down and insulting me and making me feel small. And then he blamed me for what feeling small did to me because I was constantly gasping for air or being startled or crying. And he didn't like that because it made him feel guilty and uncomfortable and he didn't know how to help me. And he always acted helpless. He always acted like the problem was on my end and he was helpless to do anything about it because the truth is he wanted to be helpless. He didn't want to have any sense of responsibility. He didn't want to feel like he owed me anything um, because he's a coward. And that's what he did. And in the end, he did the most dangerous and cowardly thing he possibly could have done. But at least he let me live. Because, like I said, my life was in his hands for a few minutes. And I got out of there with my life. And that wasn't a guarantee. Regardless of his intentions, accidents can happen. When you're fighting over a gun, trying to get a gun out of somebody's hands, that's what I was doing. I was trying to get it out of his hands. I could have died. But he let me live. And I'm grateful because he didn't have to. But I'm also angry because he didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to even own a gun in the first place. And apparently it was stolen. I don't know for sure if that's true. I think I heard that from my lawyer, but either way, everything about it was criminal and just horrible and wrong. And he knows that. I think he even knew it in the moment, but he was just so out of his mind. He couldn't face reality. So yeah, it came to a head and it blew up. And I'm just getting used to being alone now. I'm not interested in being in a relationship right now. I wouldn't mind finding somebody who, you know, made me feel um, happy and safe. I think there is somebody that I'm keeping my eye on, but I'm not um, I'm not looking to do anything right now. Because after something that intense, you just you can't really nothing else compares. You're never going to be able to recreate that, and I would almost say you shouldn't even want to, because it was dangerous as intense as it was. So maybe it's just it just is what it is. It's just life. Um, so yeah, I don't mind being alone. I never really have. Um, like I said, I'm really the only one who understands me, and I don't have to explain myself to myself, which is always nice. And at least I can always make sure that I'm doing the right thing when I'm not, when I don't have skin in the game, you know? Because I learned that that's one of my weaknesses, is when I really want an outcome, I wanted to keep him, and it limited my judgment and my ability to be strong and brave and do the right thing. He did try to do that to me, but I still let it happen. I could have stood up for myself at any time. I can't fully blame it on him. I've always been an autonomous individual. I played a part in this. I allowed it to happen. I chose to pursue him. And that is the real lesson that people should be taking away is even though evil, scary, dangerous, manipulative people exist, and it's not your fault, you do have the agency to prevent it from happening in the future if you learn from your mistakes and you really develop a strong sense of integrity and you don't need anything from anybody. Manipulative people hate autonomous, independent people who don't need anything. I think of like, there's this clip going around that I saw on Instagram of Cher saying that she wants to date men, but she doesn't need a man. And her mom said, "Why don't you go marry a rich man?" And she said, "Mom, I am a rich man." Um, and that's the mentality that manipulative, narcissistic people like my ex cannot stand. They hate when you don't need them because it makes you impossible to control. It means the only thing that you need is truth, integrity, and the ability to keep living your life as you wish to do. And they don't like that because where do they fit into that? That means that they only fit into that if they're willing to hold themselves accountable for treating you right, if they're willing to work for you. I think of the movie Big Fish. It's my favorite movie. There's this little storyline in the movie, this love story between Edward Bloom and Sandra Templeton. And Edward Bloom is the main character. He is at a carnival, at a circus, and he sees this girl all the way across the room, and time just stops. And he walks up to her and he looks at her and he's like, "Oh my God, that's my wife." And he doesn't know the first thing about her. He just looked into her eyes and he like recognized her, as his wife. And he just knew that that's who she was. That's the way I feel and think. I'm very like romantic and passionate in that way. And what did he do? He said to the Danny DeVito, his character, he said to the guy running the fair, he said, um, you know, I I want to know who she is. And he's like, "Oh no, she's out of your league." And he's like, "I know your type. You like come from a small town, and back there you were hot shit, but out in the real world you know, you don't know what you're doing. You were a big fish in like a little, an aquarium, a little bowl, but now you're in the ocean and you don't know what to do." And he's like, "I may not have much other than the clothes on my back, but I have more determination than anybody that you're likely to meet." And he decided to work there at the fair, and on the condition that every month, he says, "You don't have to pay me, but once a month, I want you to tell me something about her." And after months and months of working there, learning little things like she's going to college, she likes music, she likes daffodils, it's her favorite flower, whatever. Eventually, he says, "It's time for me to learn her name." And he confronts the guy and finds out that he's a werewolf and gets into a fight with him. And he fights. And when he has a chance to kill the wolf, he actually takes a bullet in his shoulder to save the wolf's life and then throws a stick and plays with the wolf and, like, finds a way to just, choose kindness, which is really, really bold. So he's demonstrating a lot of like incredible character here. And then he gets what he wants, gets her name. He finds her, walks up to her door, and he finds out that she's engaged to somebody that he actually knows, somebody who he, you know, um, who was a bully in his hometown. And rather than just getting angry, he declares that he will marry her anyway, but he doesn't force himself on her. He doesn't start stalking her. He just keeps surprising her with really sweet gestures, like putting her name in the sky, or filling her yard with daffodils. Just things that she couldn't possibly be mad about because it's just really sweet and good natured. And he knew that he wasn't guaranteed anything in return. He knew that she has the free will to ignore him, and he respected that, but he didn't stop trying anyway, and he did it in good faith, which is so rare. Most people will be stalkery or guilt trippy or manipulative, and like it's just incredibly rare. But it was so flattering that just as he didn't know anything about her, she didn't know anything about him, and she chose him over her fiance because that's how love is supposed to work. Somebody says, "I would climb a mountain for you," and then they do it, and they know that you don't have to like them back. You are not a guaranteed reward for climbing that mountain, but they do it anyway because you just mean that much to them, and they stand there willing to sit there and do nothing, or even willing to go back down if that's what you should ask. And that is someone you want to marry. And that's the way that I am. That's what I would do for somebody. That's what I would have done for my ex. But he wouldn't have done that for me. He wanted to trick me into coming down from the mountain to be with him because he didn't want to climb up to see me. And he tried to guilt trip me into feeling like I owed it to him, but I didn't. And I'm never coming down from that mountaintop again because I have shit to do up there. And I'm not letting anybody distract me. You're either going to complement my life and improve it, or you don't have a place in it. It's that simple. I don't need people in my life who cause me stress or anxiety, and people who want to be in my life without making sure that they aren't causing me stress or anxiety, people who feel like I owe them something, that is disgusting. Get away from me. Those are leeches, and again, it is in their hands. They have the agency to decide not to be that way, but that's their business. All I know is I don't want it near me. You clean that up on your own. It's not mine to clean up, not mine to deal with. I'm not going to help you. If you wanted help, you wouldn't be coming at me like this. It's disrespectful, and it's unacceptable, and somebody needed to tell you that at some point. Clearly, your parents didn't teach you what the difference between unacceptable behavior and acceptable behavior is, so somebody's got to set boundaries with you and let you know that doesn't fly. And then maybe we can cultivate a world where people like Elphaba actually don't have to say things like, "I'm limited and just look at me." Not with your eyes, but with theirs. Think about what they see when they see this, my green skin and my appearance and how scary I am. Like, maybe we can finally end up in a world where people aren't limited by things they can't control about themselves. That's a world I'd like to cultivate. It's a world I'd like to live in. And I will do my part in trying to make sure that can happen. The moments in my life where I've been at my lowest are when I feel hopeless, like living in the world that I believe should be possible isn't possible. That's when I feel my worst. And, you know, the truth is, it doesn't really matter. Your personal life, the world as a whole, nothing can be taken from you because all that you really need is your faith, and that is always yours. You own that. That cannot be removed from you unless you choose to let it go. And if you have faith in justice and doing the right thing and yourself, then even if the world is burning, even if your personal life is falling apart, that's all you need. That'll be enough. And I'm not saying this like some religious fanatic or like I'm just preaching some self-help nonsense. I'm talking about what kind of mentality can actually get you through your hardest moments. Because if you give up and you think that your place in the world depends on the world looking a certain way, I mean, honestly, I will grant you, maybe your place in the world does depend on the world looking a certain way. Maybe the work that you're here to do, maybe it is possible for the world to end up in a situation where that work is no longer possible. Um, and then you will feel like you don't have a place here anymore. Maybe that can happen. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. I don't know everybody's situation, but what I do know is that we shouldn't really ever lie to ourselves because sometimes we try to trick ourselves into thinking that we don't feel the way that we actually feel, that we're supposed to feel different, that we're supposed to keep going or whatever. And there is a stigma against death and suicide and things like that. And honestly, I think the only thing that should be stigmatized is judgment of ourselves and of other people. Truth is all that matters. You know, you can explore truth, you can try to understand it, but you shouldn't judge it. You shouldn't look at a true piece of information and say, I feel like that's bad or good, or it doesn't matter if it's bad or good. It's true, so you have to figure out what it means, and you have to come at it with curiosity, not judgment. So, you know, that's how you navigate life. If you are suicidal, don't tell yourself that you shouldn't be or judge yourself for being. Just ask yourself why. Try to understand it. Um, you know, because I would hope that you would discover your own strength and realize how much you have to live for. But again, I don't know your situation. Maybe you really are in a situation where um, you came here to do very specific work and something completely out of everybody's control happened and the bad guys won, basically. And there's really nothing left for you. Maybe the idea of pulling it yourself back together isn't possible. Maybe you lost all your limbs. Maybe you you were a painter and you lost your eyes. Maybe you were a musician and you lost your ears. Maybe whatever. Maybe you're a singer and you lost your voice. You know, like sometimes you will just have that sense of feeling really low. And I'm not advocating for people to give up on their lives. I'm just saying it's okay to honor the weight of how much you lost and acknowledge that, you know, it is a lot of pain and you're not going to pretend it away by acting like you should feel better. It's okay to feel like shit. Um, but sometimes all you really need is the feeling like you're going to be carried, you know, like you have people that will lift you up and support you and hold you when you're low and find a way to help you go on, even if you can't see it. People who will just say, I got this for a while. You can take a back seat, I'll take the wheel while you recover. And when you're ready, you'll be able to see where you're going again. Sometimes people don't think that that's possible, but it is. So you can always just think about that and make sure that you have people in your life that would do that to you. And a good way to get there is take my advice. Set those boundaries, you know, mind the leeches. Don't let people like that into your life. They will not be there when you need them. They will not support you when you're in a moment of need because they're showing you right from the get-go that they don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. They care about how you make them feel. They care about what they want from you. And they're not respecting your very clear boundaries. And they feel entitled to you and your time, your attention, your energy. So mind that shit. There are people who say they want to be friends with me, and it is for completely selfish reasons, and I see right through it. Friendships happen organically. I cannot artificially establish a friendship with somebody. It just can't happen. And I've tried, but it always feels forced. Um, because it's not authentic. It, you know, you can't fake that. So, yeah. Anyway, circling back to what I started talking about at the very beginning, I enjoy making people uncomfortable. and taking people on a journey. And when I did the whole controversy thing with like Colleen Ballinger, Melanie Martinez, whatever, I do it because I am always proud of the specific things that I say. And I also know that I don't owe anybody anything. This is my platform. I can use it however I like. Um, I'm under no obligation to make people comfortable, to say things people want to hear. And I'm not doing it because I think people care about my take or I think I'm smarter than everybody else. I do it just because it's my right to do it. And, you know, I I like pushing people's buttons. But I still maintain my integrity, keep in mind. I don't start promoting the content of people who are dangerous. Like, you know, I think of like politicians. You know, like I wouldn't make a video, like I made a video called defending Colleen Ballinger, but I wouldn't make a video defending Candace Owens or something, you know, because I think that it would be dishonest of me. When I defended Colleen Ballinger, I was focusing primarily on the way that people were treating her. She was not being treated as a human being with, the capacity to grow. I don't believe I've ever seen evidence when looking at her and her channel and learning about the way she thinks. I've never seen evidence that she is in that category that I referred to of like evil, someone who goes out of their way to harm people just for the sake of it. I maybe see her as a little bit arrogant, um, and maybe naive, immature in some ways. Um, and, I think that if people want her to take accountability and grow, um, oops, oh, there's no back to this. There's nothing for me to lean my arm on. Okay. Um, Told to take accountability and grow, but she's not being shown the way to do that or made to feel like that's really even an option. You also have to keep in mind, though, people like my ex don't want to change or grow or take accountability. They have no interest in that because if they can cheat and they can keep, like that analogy that I gave of like, do you want the 100 coins or the 5 coins? If they can keep going for the 5 coin route over and over and over again, they will. They'll take the easy way because they've convinced themselves that it's more rewarding. Um, no good deed goes unpunished, sort of thing. They've convinced themselves that it is more rewarding to cheat in life. And that is a very hard thing to get somebody to stop thinking about. Um, but here's the thing, I don't really know Colleen Ballinger, never met her, never had a conversation with her. Um, and I don't know what her situation is. What I know is that she apparently did some things that are pretty disturbing and concerning, and we have to be aware that a lot of these things are being reported on by people who have the intention of attacking her character, not people who are just trying to speak out for their own sake. Um, and they'll take whatever attention they can get from it. Now, I'll grant you, not everybody who spoke up and shared something did that, but we also have to keep in mind that this wasn't like a situation where both sides were fully clearly addressed. She could have maybe addressed everything directly, addressed specific screenshots and everything. But these are screenshots There could be context missing, you don't know. But let's assume, just for the sake of it, that in a worst case scenario, it's as bad as it's being made out to be. The victims posting whatever, it's really that bad, and there is nothing being misrepresented or taken out of context. Let's assume that, just for the sake of argument. It is still true that you don't know this person, and you can't rush to judgment, but you can choose to unfollow. You can choose to disengage, and you can choose to not care what happens in their life anymore. But to start spamming them with hatred or making content about how much you hate them, all you're really doing is teaching people not about accountability or justice, but about judging others and judging situations that they aren't involved in and don't really know anything about, not for sure. And it's just a mess. And that is my honest opinion, and I don't like that. So when I made my video defending Colleen, it's because I believe that everybody has the right to a fair trial, the right to due process. And I don't appreciate mob mentalities. So that was my honest opinion. And I don't care if it made people uncomfortable or it made people want to attack me or say that I'm defending her. My goal wasn't to defend her in the sense that I was saying what she did is okay or she's a good person. My goal was to say, you need to chill. Because no one deserves to be treated like that. So check yourself, which, is how I started talking about that, like, kind of fake positive thing, the people who aren't actively spending every second of every day thinking, how can I make the world a better place, right? How can I put some positivity out into the world and increase healing and happiness? They're instead just thinking, how can I make myself feel like a good person, like I'm on the right side of history? Probably by attacking and hating the bad people. It's a cheat. It's an easy way out, and it doesn't require any actual work or self-reflection or introspection or actually making individual people's lives better. You're not supporting the victims. You're not commenting on their videos and trying to lift up their spirits and give them resources and healing. You're on the person who is the perpetrator, yelling at them and yelling at people making videos about them and watching people make videos about them and being like, wow, what a horrible person. And it really just is very gossipy, low vibrational type of behavior, and it's disappointing. And we can do better than that. So that's why I made that video, and that's why I've spoken on these types of topics in the past, and that's why I haven't taken them down, because I stand by what I said. And even if there are things that I said that I don't continue to agree with, I still know that I never said anything so bad that it's like, oh, I have to take this down. This is causing harm. If I said anything that would have caused harm, I would have known it when I was saying it, and I wouldn't have done it. So if anybody has a problem with anything that I said or did in the past, they can choose not to watch my videos. However, there may come a time in the future when I reset my channel and private or unlist a lot of my old content, and then start actively making new content with a clear goal and brand in mind, possibly after I finish writing my first book, maybe in an effort to promote it. I could do that. But that process might take a while. My only goal is to do it within a year, but this is a very ambitious project. When I say book, I mean, like, I'm talking about a novel. Like, this is a huge undertaking, and I'm taking it very seriously. I had to write a victim impact statement for the court about what happened with my ex, and I spent weeks perfecting that thing. I went over it over and over and over again until I was like, this is the one. And when it clicked, and I wrote it down in handwriting, and I sent it in today, actually. And I'm proud of it because I knew it was perfect when I finished it. It was exactly what it needed to be. And that's the approach that I take with things. I treat things like they matter, and I put in the extra effort. And this is a book that absolutely matters. This is like you know, it's the first part of a trilogy, and this trilogy is like my life's work. It's going to be like my magnum opus, you know? When I finally make it and it becomes fully realized, hopefully on the big screen, um, I'm done. You know, anything else I do in life after that is just for fun, because that is it. That is the main goal that I have, and it is the most important thing that I am going to do. And I really want to make sure that I take my time with this. But once it's done, yeah, gonna definitely rethink my public image, and kind of clean up anything that I just don't want people digging through shit and making drama out of nothing. Um, so the good news is that I do always make sure that I'm proud of the choices I make before I make them. But I also know that people can be really picky and mean and take things out of context. So that's why I kind of want to clean my channel up once I'm done with the book. But that'll be a while. Hopefully in 2026. That's my goal. Um, so yeah, um, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Touched on politics, integrity, why I made the defending Colleen video. Excuse me. And I might do a separate video on that. Just maybe because maybe the title will make people want to watch it, but I don't know. I don't know if I care enough. And I don't know if it'll come off as desperate if I keep making videos about her, you know? Because, like, be original, right? Come up with something new. um, but, yeah. So, I definitely, um, I definitely wish that people would have more integrity, but it's not my problem if they don't. So, thank you for thank you for watching, and I hope that you took something positive away from this. I hope that it made you feel better and more empowered and reminded you of your own capacity for strength and doing the right thing, and that you're not alone. Um, and I hope you know that your life is worth something, and if you're gonna go out and try to do the right thing, you're never alone, even when it feels like you're alone, because you always have the universe on your side, your angels, your ancestors, your guides, and there will be people, even if you haven't met them yet, who support you on your journey. Um, and your friends can be the people whose lives you're making better, if that helps. Just knowing that you're putting good out into the world. So, yeah, humble yourself. Don't get defensive or upset or anything. I know that I said a lot of controversial things in this video. I don't know how any of what I said is controversial, but I understand that it is. I understand the power of ego defenses and brainwashing and manipulation, and how people can spend their lives doing really awful and stupid things and have no idea how bad it is and think that they're completely harmless. I guess the last thing that I want to say in reference to that, just to touch on politics, I recommend a movie called Don't Look Up. And I've talked about this on my channel before, but this is one of the best descriptions of the political system as we know it. Don't Look Up um, deals with a comet hurtling toward Earth, and these astrophysicists, these scientists, they discover this comet, and they tell the President of the United States, played by Meryl Streep, and she says, um, she says that she's going to deal with it. First, she doesn't take it seriously. You know, first she's like, okay, yeah, big deal, right? But then she talks to her scientists, and they confirm that there is indeed a comet. Then she decides she's going to deal with it. She's going to blow it up, and it's going to be this whole big thing, you know? Um, and then she changes her mind because this multi-billionaire who kind of reminds me of Tim Cook, that type of personality. Um, he walks onto the scene and he starts talking about how this comet contains materials that would be worth like trillions of dollars, um, and could actually improve the lives of everybody on the planet. And he says that he's going to come up with a way to break up the comet so that it can land on Earth safely and its materials can be extracted. And the scientists say there is no safe way to land that comet. If you don't blow it up and destroy it, we're all going to die, because it is big enough that it would be like a dinosaur level extinction event where life on Earth is just over. It would completely end the world within a couple minutes of hitting the planet. So you have to destroy this thing. And you're so focused on getting money that you're willing to risk the literal end of the entire world. And the fate of not just this billionaire, but the entire planet was in the hands of this billionaire because the president listened to him. And his plan was reckless and dangerous. He skipped the scientific peer review process and fired anybody who insisted that it was dangerous. And then it became a matter of what does the general public believe? When the comet was hurtling toward Earth, you could see it eventually as it got closer just by looking up into the sky. And then what did the president say? Don't look up. Just pretend it isn't there. Trust us. We got this. We know what we're doing. You're safe. Ignore all the people who insist that the comet is going to kill us all. They're just trying to scare you, and they're just being dramatic. And eventually the scientists turned into this whole movement, and everybody was trying to fight the Don't Look Up movement, and everybody was trying to find a way to destroy this comet. They went to every resource they could. They fought until they found a way to get rid of the comet. They tried so hard. They tried everything. And there were interviews happening, people just looking for publicity. And, this one guy being interviewed, he was like trying to be neutral, trying to be cool. And he was saying that he thinks that both sides, the Don't Look Up people and the we're all gonna die crowd, should just learn to get along with each other. It's just a misunderstanding. We're not that different. And he just thinks that we should just stop fighting, And he's coming off like the one who sees clearer than the masses, the one who's smarter than everybody else. He's, not getting sucked into red pill or blue pill. He's smarter. He knows what he's talking about. And he's like, just stop fighting. You're both right and you're both wrong and blah, blah, blah. And he sits there feeling so confident about himself. And you know what happened to him? He died. Because the Don't Look Up people were just 100% wrong and indefensible. There is no way to be mutual or slightly compromised with that. We're either all going to die or we're not. It's as simple as this. Either the president is right and can be trusted to handle things, or the president cannot be trusted to handle things. It's one or the other. There is no neutral third party option. It's one or the other, and it is a matter of life or death. And that I'm not talking about the movie anymore. I'm talking about in real life. So, I do tire of people who try to take neutral stances and act like things aren't really that serious, because they are. People's lives are actually in danger. It isn't an extinction level event, but it could be. We could end up in World War III and we could all die. Or, global warming could get so bad that the planet becomes uninhabitable if horrible decisions by billionaires keep being made. Or, you know, I mean, I've been trying not to respond. My YouTube stalker has been spamming me, even though I've told him that I hate him and I never want to hear from him again because he is a leech whose real identity is completely unknown. He has a million fake accounts, but I always recognize him as soon as he starts commenting because he just has a way of talking that I instantly know it's him. And he to be clear, this isn't a person I know in real life. This is someone I don't know anything about him. All I know is he has a million fake accounts and he comments on my YouTube videos. And I often refer to him as Dave because that was the name that I knew him by before I realized that he doesn't have a real identity because he's a leech. Um, but he's been spamming me this whole time, and I've been trying to ignore his comments. Partially why I've been getting a little bit distracted, but I've been trying to ignore him as not to encourage him. But he just said something that I really would like to respond to. He mentioned these $2,000, I think, stimulus checks, which I have heard about that. And it's kind of insulting because, first of all, here is a man, the President of the United States, in the position to, I mean, do literally everything to make the world a better place. He could completely change our system and make sure that everyone has a fair chance at life, make sure that everyone is treated right, and change this dynamic that feeds into like trickle down economics or whatever they call it, um, which suggests that people people can survive, if they keep doing all this work. But I want to point something out to you. Um, Albert Einstein is known for being a genius, and he's very very famous. Everybody knows his name. You know the hair, the face that everything, and yet his fame came not from his genius mind, but from luck. Because the truth is, geniuses are not all guaranteed to become famous. Imagine if Albert Einstein had been born into different circumstances. Imagine if his mind, that same capacity for genius, was born today, but in poverty, in the body of maybe somebody who is a minority, person of color, etc., etc. Or maybe he was still a white man, but he was born in a situation where he had to work because let's just say, he was completely out of options, right? He couldn't afford an education to go to college and pursue a career that pays really well. So he maybe he was born in poverty and his parents, and again, you can't choose these circumstances, you're just born into them. And his parents were really sick and they didn't have the best insurance, so the medical bills just broke him. And then he had to work even as a teenager to just pay the bills, just do whatever job was available. And he couldn't think about big expenses like a car or college or investing in his future. He could barely keep his head above water as it was. And he is doing so much work. No one should ever have to work that hard or take care of people that way. And that is a flaw in our system, period. A flaw that the president doesn't care to fix because it benefits him. Because, well, that little genius Albert Einstein is out there working like 80 hours a week and hardly getting any sleep and just barely able to afford rent because minimum wage in Pennsylvania is like 7.25. Let's just say hypothetically that that was the only job he could get and that was what he was doing, and he didn't have time to daydream like Albert Einstein did. Albert Einstein spent a lot of time daydreaming. That is a luxury not everybody has. It's a privilege based on the circumstances in which you grow up. He didn't have the time to develop his genius abilities because he was constantly working just to survive. And, you know, that is insane to imagine that that's even possible in this country for someone to have the capacity to be as smart as him or to be as influential as other famous people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or, like whatever, just these billionaires. And people think, well, they earned their success. No, they didn't. They didn't earn their success. They didn't earn anything. They were lucky, and they exploited that luck, and they exploited other people. Because in a fair world, and I would hope anybody listening can agree, in a fair world, the amount of effort and energy and work that you put out into the world is reciprocated so that you feel like you're being compensated fairly. However, the people that do the hardest, most grueling jobs are often completely overlooked and forgotten about. They're paid dirt, sometimes literally, and they get nothing out of it. And then the people who do the least work, the people with the most luxurious lives, they are living like kings. And why? Because the people who are doing the hardest work are working for them. They're the ones who own the technology that's used for these jobs, or the ones who own the corporations, the CEOs. And these people think, well, if I keep working for this company that pays me shit and looks for any loophole it can to not pay me as much as I'm owed, um, eventually I'll be fine. But no, you won't. You're living in a system that is not designed fairly, not designed to work for you, but designed to benefit the already rich and lucky. And you think that these billionaires deserve their wealth because you could get it too if you worked as hard as they did or if you were as smart as they were. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Doesn't matter how smart you are or how hard you work. You can be the most smart person in the world, you can be the most hardworking person in the world, and you can still have an absolute shit life by chance because the game is rigged against you. And Donald Trump isn't doing anything about that. He doesn't care. He's fine. He's out golfing. He doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't. $2,000. What a slap in the face. What the fuck is that going to do? With how expensive everything is, that could be spent in like a week, you know? $2,000. Yeah, that's how much the grocery bill is every month. Like, what in the fuck? Just, what a slap in the face. It is disgusting. Um, it's insulting and it's disgusting and it's insane that there are people defending these people. That you can look at someone sitting on a mountain of answers to your problems and say, that person has the right to keep that to himself. Why? He stole it from you. It wasn't earned fairly. These billionaires, they didn't earn their money by being good people or smart people. They earned their money by stealing it from you, by exploiting your labor. And you believe every lie that you're told. And it's just tragic. Of course, my YouTube stalker, who, by the way, is still commenting even though I just said that I hate him and I want him to leave me alone forever, he's still here, proving that he is a stalker, and he will not leave me alone. I've blocked like 50 of his accounts, and he just never goes away. Um, so, he won't take a hint. He won't take a direct slap in the face. And if I could be there with him, I would punch him so hard his teeth would fall out. But unfortunately, I don't know what he looks like, where he lives, who he is. He's just this little pest in my YouTube comments that just never goes away, and it's irritating as hell. Um, because he distracts me, when I'm talking about you. He just commented and said, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't like to address him directly because he disgusts me, but um, I'm talking about you, dude, and I would like you to leave me alone, please. I don't appreciate your support on my channel. I don't appreciate your comments. You are a stalker. You are creepy. And I have told you several times that I would prefer for you to leave me alone because I never want to see or hear from you again. And don't come back with a fake account. I will always know it's you. You have a tell. I can't convince myself that it isn't you. So please go away. Not me, bud. Yes, it is you. Jesus H. Christ. All right, you know what? I've had enough. I'm gonna block this account because I just hide user on this channel. Is that what that does? Okay. There we go. Bye. He'll come back though. He'll have another account and he'll come back. Um by the way, my video I noticed went up to like 8 likes cuz I think he went in with all his fake accounts to like my video. I should just take the compliment, appreciate that he's boosting my algorithm, but I don't need him, you know? Um yeah, and look, now it's going down 7, 6. He's removing his likes because I blocked him. What a little pathetic leech. Um and now it's down to 5 likes. Yeah. He's going through and actively unliking my videos from all his fake accounts. Goodbye. Oh my god, it blows my mind the things people are capable of. The self-importance, that he acts like I need him. Like that like I'm somehow, benefiting from having him around. Like I can't build my own platform. I'm going to be writing a book, dude. I'm fine. I don't need you. Can you imagine how pathetic my life story would be if I was only famous because of one creepy stalker with no boundaries? Like, come on. That's absolutely not. um so anyway, um yeah. Oh, what a breath of fresh air. I no longer even feel like I have to explain my political views because he just keeps commenting with this dumb fuck shit about gas prices and eggs being cheaper. Like, I just, he just listened to everything I just said, and those are his only comments. I don't have it in me to have a debate. I don't do that. I already said earlier, I don't do debates, and this is exactly why. I feel a breath of relief. Like, oh my god, I can just let go. I don't have to prove anything to him. I don't have to fight anymore. Just let my words just speak for themselves. It's exhausting to have to convince somebody of something. Just let it go. Down to 3 likes now. Look at him going through with all of his fake accounts and unliking my video. That's wild. It's insane. Um but yeah, I'm done. I don't think I have anything else to say. I only continued because I just wanted to make my political views clear. I want to be clear also that I don't judge people for being wrong. It doesn't make you right, but you don't have to be afraid that I'm like judging you or mad at you or anything. It's your business. It's just that it is a little frustrating when you want to argue with me about it and you're just so insanely wrong. And then your arguments are exhausting because then I have to go and do homework that you should have done to educate you, which you should have done yourself. You have complete access to the internet. I should not have to explain these things to you. Use your common sense, get your integrity in check, get your empathy motivating your decisions, and you'll be fine. I shouldn't have to break down every single thing because, yeah, I get it. Racists in history also had good reasons and thought that they were doing the right thing. I've actually argued with racists in modern times. I've argued with insane people, and they really. I've argued with flat earthers. Okay, I promise you, no matter how smart you think your arguments are, everyone thinks their arguments are smart. Doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it okay. Everyone thinks they have a good reason to be believing something harmful or stupid. You know. Um, so just don't take it personally and just claim your agency and do the right thing, okay? For your own sake. I have no stake in it. I don't care. I'm doing my thing either way, so it's fine. Um, have a good night. Thank you for watching. I'm down to 2 likes now. I bet even those aren't real, because nobody watches my shit. Nobody watches my YouTube channel except my stalker. And part of me thinks, well, then should I have just accepted it? Like, no, absolutely not. I'm better than that. And the saddest part is he's not even gone forever. He's just gonna come back and be just as creepy and weird or angry. I mean, making an enemy of him is also not fun because he tries to. I don't know what he's capable of. Honestly, that honestly scares me. Um, but it doesn't make it okay. And I wish I could involve police. I wish that I could just have somebody find this guy and remove. Here's another account, just like I predicted. Zach is better off without you. Yeah, I'm getting rid of you too. Everyone in the world is better off without you, sir. Um, I hope you die. I hope your heart just stops beating. I mean, I don't like to say horrible things like that about people, but really, you have fully become, you've just embraced the identity of a leech that only exists to just suck energy out of other people's lives. And yeah, I hope you either stop doing that or your heart stops beating. But you're never going to stop doing that because that's who you've chosen to be. If you wanted to stop doing that, you wouldn't be doing it. You've had years to stop this. You've been on my channel for years. So please just die, you know? But you're never going to. I'm never going to get rid of you. Never going to find out who you are. Not going to be able to get police involved. So you're bitter and a know-it-all. Yeah, see, now here's what happens. Then he becomes angry and starts attacking me. This is what happened last year, you know? He tried to pretend that he was my friend. Um, but then I called him out, and then he started coming at me and calling me names and trying to insult me. He's really sick. He's a really sick, evil person. Um, and it creeps me out. I can't even imagine the mentality of somebody like that. Imagine having literally nothing but free time that you're just going to watch YouTube live streams of random people all day and comment on them, pretending to be their friend from like a million fake accounts. I mean, how bored do you have to be? Get a life. I don't know if this person is disabled or something, and he's like living in his parents' basement and he can't get out of bed, so he just sits on his phone all day or a computer or something. I don't know what his situation is. I can only imagine. I can only speculate. Oh my god, it's Cheryl. Thank you for contrasting the energy of my stalker. Um, Cheryl is a nice commenter who just, says uplifting and kind things and isn't creepy and doesn't have a fake identity and doesn't leave hate comments if I, set boundaries. Zach was much cuter than you. You don't have to lie to me. Um, that was kind of mean. I'm not trying to be mean, but but as if that wasn't mean in the first place, what he said to me. Just come on. It's ridiculous. And it's pathetic that these are the only insults he can think of. Just telling me that my ex is cuter than me. Come on. Kind of curious how many more accounts he can comment with that I can block, because I'm blocking every single one. I mean, there's got to be some kind of a limit of how many accounts the same IP address can make, right? There's got to be some way to track this guy. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, can somebody dox him and just, like, go find him? Oh, my God. That's crazy. The stalker never gives up. Sad existence. Yeah, seriously. The saddest part is that I'm not his only victim. He does this to a lot of other YouTubers, more vulnerable than I am. People who actually believe that he's their friend. He targets like young live streamers who do like sleep streams and have small channels who will pay attention to every commenter. Excuse me. And turning on your last boyfriend is wrong. I don't see what's wrong with turning your boyfriends on. Anyway, I think he was referring to Destin, which is the one that attacked me with a gun. I didn't turn on anybody. He attacked me with a gun. I was the victim. In the eyes of the law, everybody... You are wrong, Matthew. Oh, don't address him. He doesn't have a name. He has a million fake identities and names, and I just hate that helpless feeling of knowing you're no victim knowing that no matter how many of his accounts I block, he just keeps coming back. And I can never fully get rid of him. Wow, it's 11 o'clock. Wait a minute. That clock is wrong. It has to be. I think it's still got daylight saving time. Right? Because that it can't be that late. There's no way. I haven't been live for that long. It's probably just 10 o'clock, which is not that bad. But I don't want the night to get away from me, so I'm gonna go upstairs, and I'm done, dealing with this guy. I'm sorry, Cheryl. I know you just got here, but you can rewatch it. There's a lot. There's a lot to watch, and I'm happy with the way this turned out. Not happy that Dave had to show up and be his creepy stalker self, but for the most part, I did ignore him. Yeah, nice seeing you too. Good note to end on, honestly. Glad it wasn't just me and the stalker the whole time. I ignored him for almost the entire live stream, and then right at the end, he said something that I wanted to comment on, and I couldn't resist the urge to just let him know that I really wanted him to fuck off. But yeah. Anyway, it is annoying. It feels like I stepped in gum, like no matter how many live streams I do, he's just always gonna be there. You betrayed Destin. Wow, I shouldn't have said his name, because now you're gonna start with that shit. Stu Samson. How many names do you have? I mean, this guy's got to have like hundreds of accounts. A public nuisance would be destroyed if he died. I'm just saying. I don't know if he's a predator. I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm sure some of the boys that he watches who do live streams are underage. But for real, the world is better off without this guy in it. Plus, he's a full-on MAGA Republican lunatic on top of everything else. And as we've been learning about these people lately, a lot of them are predators. A lot of them don't care that Donald Trump is involved with the whole Jeffrey Epstein shit and pedophilia and everything. They don't care. They think there's nothing wrong with it, because a lot of them are probably the same way. And they've been straight out coming out about it. I mean, we've had people confessing to sleeping with 16-year-olds and saying that there's a huge difference between a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. But yeah, it just shows these people are just very, very mentally ill, and it's indefensible. It just is absolutely indefensible. Raise your standards, seriously. Raise your expectations of what the world ought to be like. This guy's talking about, oh, gas is cheaper, eggs are cheaper. How about the actual fundamental issues in our system that cause people to suffer and have the odds stacked against them are addressed and fixed? That's never going to happen, because as much as you don't want to admit it, Donald Trump is not here to change the system and save us all. He's just here to cause some chaos and just really make life worse for everybody. And that's pretty much what he does. But I'm glad that you can live in a rock, under a rock, enough to convince yourself that it's not that big of a deal. That must be nice. But personally, it's kind of terrifying. Border much safer now. Yeah, it would be much safer without you in this country. I hope you go somewhere else. I hope I hope maybe someday ICE mistakes you for an illegal immigrant and throws you in a cage, and then you just lose your autonomy completely. I really hope that happens to you, Dave. I hope you're just in public and just trying to mind your own business. Fucking sick creep. In fact, I hope that you're in public just trying to shop for your groceries, and out of nowhere, a maniac with a gun just blows you away, I think you'll feel really confident about your opinions on, like, gun safety laws and everything. Charlie Kirk said that sometimes you have to, like, sometimes gun casualties are just the price of freedom, and then he died by gun. I mean, how fitting is that? I was almost going to say ironic, but it's poetic. That he said that sometimes people are going to die as a result of a gun, and that's just the price that you pay to have the freedom of owning a gun in this country. And, he said my hair looks dumb now. He really just going all out. I just got it cut today, actually. And I like the way I look with bangs. I don't know if they've moved a little bit. No, they're pretty much how I left them. Anyway, yeah, they have moved a little bit on the side. Thank you, Cheryl. But yeah, I think it's kind of fitting and poetic that he was saying that sometimes it's necessary to die by gun, and then he died by gun, and nobody felt bad for him. People were, like, relieved, like, oh good, one less piece of shit in the world. And I get it. He was actively making life shittier for other people and spreading harmful rhetoric. And yet somehow he became even more annoying after he died. People were talking about him more than ever. But yeah, with Dave, my stalker, I hope that his beliefs come back to bite him in the ass. But I think he has something that I really wish didn't exist, which is this phenomenon that I refer to as the fool's protection. And it basically just means that oftentimes the dumbest people survive like anything. They can come so close. Stream reported for what? For what? What the hell did you report my live stream for? Doing what people like you advocate for? Freedom of speech? Having opinions? Oh no. It's only okay when you do it, right? What did you report my stream for? It makes you select a reason. This is ridiculous. Fucking pathetic. But yeah, people like my stalker, nothing bad ever happens to them for some reason. Because these people, and he won't even leave his comments up. I'm blocking them. I'm going through, and each time he comments, I'm blocking his account, which means every new comment is from a different account. That's how many accounts this guy has. That's how many fake profiles he has. I can block as many of them as I want, and he will always come back with another one. It's insane. It's the same person with like 15 million fake accounts. I don't know. I don't know how this happens, but I tell him to fuck off, and he doesn't listen. So I will address you directly one last time, sir. Leave me alone. Bother somebody else. I wish you only the worst. I hope you experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of people like you. I hope you find out just how awful and annoying you are, and I hope that you change someday, but I hope you experience consequences first. I hope that you realize that the way that you're living. I know where you live. Oh, I wish I knew where you lived. I don't think you're telling the truth, but if you did have the audacity to show up at my house, I'd be happy to kick your ass. I survived a situation where someone was waving a gun in my face, and I wasn't even the one holding the gun. So I'm fine. I highly doubt you actually know where I live, but I can take care of myself, and I'm not afraid to involve police if I need to. So go ahead. Let's just end this, I'm not afraid of you, dude. You don't have friends. You don't have anybody who would support you. You're an isolated creep, and you're just trying to scare me. You're never going to get out of bed. You're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to do anything. Um, and you definitely don't know where I live. I don't believe you. But even if you did, I'm not scared of you because what are you going to do? Like, come on. It's just, as if I don't already live, safely and carefully, keep my doors locked and shit. You have no friends or job yourself. You don't know anything about me, actually. I have a lot of friends. And I'm writing a book and I'm going to be a successful author and movie director. I'm getting a job in January, but that does not define my worth. It's just to save up money so that I can get myself a car. I have a license. I drove myself to my haircut because I have access to my grandpa's car all winter when he's in Florida on vacation. So, you know, but it's none of your business. And it has nothing to do with my worth either way because I behave with integrity and I don't take anything for granted. That's all that matters. So, you just, you take whatever you can, but um, I don't need you. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. He doesn't like that I don't need him, that his comments don't do anything for me. Um, he doesn't like being ignored. He doesn't like feeling irrelevant. And when I tell him to fuck off, does he fuck off? No. He starts leaving hate comments and trying to insult me and bring me down. And all he's doing is helping me get rid of as many of his accounts as I can and block him as much as I can. Which is why I'm still here. I'm just waiting to see if there's any more that I can get rid of. But he's always going to come back. Never going to be fully gone, sadly. And it's okay. I've accepted it. Somebody said, "Hey, who are you? Say something." Princess Code Saj 7709 whatever. Say something so I can identify you cuz I have a stalker and I'm trying to make sure you're not him before I block your account. I can usually identify him very quickly, but I need more than one word. Um so he can't cuz he can't fake it, he can't trick me and pretend to be somebody else. Yeah. There's another one saying hi. Okay. Yeah, you guys aren't real then. All right. Goodbye. Goodbye. All they said was hi and hey, but I know that was him because the timing is too weird. There's no way people are suddenly watching. Um, so yeah. um, I just wish this guy a lot of karma, honestly. But it's just never gonna happen. But it is annoying. It really does feel like I stepped in gum and I just cannot get rid of him. I cannot wait until I have reached a level of success in my endeavors that I will be able to do a live stream and his comments will just be drowned out by a bunch of other people. Actual success. And I won't even know he exists anymore. But for now, I have to deal with him. And it's annoying. But maybe it's just a sign that I need to not do live streams as much anymore. You will never has success. Yeah, go away. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pre-record my uploads and just post them, and then it doesn't matter if he's there commenting because I will not be able to interact with him as it was pre-recorded. On one hand, it means that I wouldn't be interacting with other comments that are actually positive, but it's fine because I don't really get much out of that anyway. Nobody really comments on my videos. Um, I remember when I used to do those psychic readings. Um, I had a lot of fun with that. That was fun. I loved doing that, but I just couldn't. You get no other comments. Yeah, you're right. It's all from you. Um, so I'm just gonna do my videos and it's fine. Yeah, I loved doing the psychic readings. I loved reading you, Cheryl. That was a lot of fun. Um, You know, I remember the whole thing with the cats. I thought that blew my mind, you know, because I remember that I got like, you know, even like describing the way it looked and everything and the timing of you getting it and stuff like that. There was a day that I told you to feed the cat and you were like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to feed the cat." Like shit like that where I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy." You know, just and that kind of stuff always blows my mind. I remember something about the sunshine having something to do with your mom. I don't know, but like I just remember a lot of little moments like that where I'm always grateful that it does uplift people and it surprises me sometimes with the accuracy. But, you know, I I will come back to it eventually, but I'm gonna try to build a bit of an audience through regular uploads, hopefully a little more consistently. So yeah, um, I don't need Dave. I don't need live streams, and he can't get me if I'm not live. So doesn't matter. I mean, he will comment. He will appear in my comments, but I can ignore him. Um, so some of my videos do have a good amount of comments, you know. I still get comments on my music uploads and when I've addressed controversy. That honestly works. I should do that more. Like picking controversial topics, whether it be like I've only done like Melanie Martinez and Colleen Ballinger, but I should I should be brave enough to do it more often because every time I do it, it does work. I'm always afraid that I'm gonna like overdo it or turn it into a thing and then become like a drama channel, but every time I have actually covered a topic like that, I get attention and I don't mind it. Whatever gets people talking as long as I get to, you know, stay true to myself. I don't have to like, you know, lie about how I feel about something or just do something to bother people. As long as I get to still say something that I feel is worth saying, and I can walk that line. It's okay to want to play the game and, you know, get attention. That's how you make your voice known. And then it's what you do with your voice that matters. So, you know, I got this. Maybe I should do that more often. I do love talking. It will draw viewers. Yeah. It has in the past. I just haven't done it much. I wasn't on YouTube at all this year because I was with Destin and he was my primary focus. I was always convinced that eventually everything would be okay in the relationship and I'd be able to focus on other things, but we never reached that point where things were just peaceful and okay. There was always some sort of unresolved conflict or drama, and I always wanted to spend my free time just like vegging out and like playing video game and not actually doing work. So I'm still recovering from that a little bit. I'm on like a monthly schedule at this point. Um because it's been a month since my last live stream. But I'm gonna get back into it. I'm gonna start writing my book. I got a lot of plans. You know, I'm just chilling till the end of the year. You know, because it's very close. There isn't much time left, and I need to recover because I've been through a lot, and I need to like you know learn how to regulate my nervous system again. I just found a therapist. I'm gonna talk to him on December 4th, so that's coming up. I'm just trying to get a hold of myself before I start, you know, doing more productive things. It's your fault what happened with Destin. Yeah, I'm sure you would think that. You're just like him. You know, you're a narcissist. You're a leech. You're lazy. You don't want to actually have to do the work. You don't want to earn my attention. You just feel entitled to it, much like he did. Um, he didn't want to earn me, but I do not come for free. He would say that I loved him conditionally, but I didn't love him conditionally. I just loved him in a healthy way, you know? That's what love is. It's you have to earn me. I'm not free. If you want me, you have to do the work. You have to show that I'm worth it. And if you can't, then you don't deserve me. And it doesn't mean I'm just going to sit there and soak up all the love and not give anything back. I already made it clear. I love giving back. I would be the Edward Bloom type to work months at a fair to, you know, um, be with somebody, you know. I have a lot to offer and a lot to give, and I know my own worth. And I don't have any interest in engaging with other people who don't see that. Yes, you have worth and deserve the very best. Thank you, Cheryl. Dave just said the exact opposite because he's jealous and petty and disgusting, and I'm disgusted by him. I don't like that he brings me to say things like, I hope he dies. I don't like to wish suffering or death on anybody, but when you behave in such a disgusting way, it's just it's like I get viscerally not just disgusted but like angry because that kind of shit just has no place in the world. And the world is better off without him. And I get very viscerally passionate about thoughts like that. I'm not a dangerous person. I've never killed anyone. I've never hurt anyone. I've never attacked anyone. I have defended myself when attacked. Um, I have tried to protect myself, just had to block another account. I have never hurt anybody, and I never will, because it's not who I am. But I will protect people no matter what. Um, and if someone is being attacked, I will attack their attacker until the victim is safe. And that's the only time that you'll see a scary side of me is when I'm protecting somebody from you. So, especially somebody else. I'm less likely to defend myself than I am somebody else who's vulnerable. Like, imagine if somebody, I don't know how many of you are pet owners, but imagine if somebody attacked your dog or your cat or something, or your child if you're a parent. Um, how you would feel. you know, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm not dangerous. um, I I attract dangerous people and I survive them and I become stronger afterwards. Always been that way my whole life. Um, anyway, have a good night. I'm done engaging with the stalker, and you take and give nothing. I don't owe you anything, dude. You can fuck off. Um, I give I give a lot, honestly. I give more than most people deserve, especially to you, Dave. I shouldn't even be responding to you. I told myself I wouldn't address you directly anymore, and I'm disrespecting myself by doing that. So I'm done. And I will not be doing live streams for a little while because even though they're easier, I don't have to go through the upload process. Uploads mean I don't have to interact with you or see your comments or even think about it. Have a great night and don't let Dave get to you. Thank you. I am gonna have a great night because it's only 10:30. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat something. I'm gonna chill out for a little while. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two from me and just take care of yourself. You're always allowed to do that. And don't let anybody bring you down. That's my advice. Always protect yourself. And know your worth. Have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. To Cheryl specifically, I think the only person here. But to anybody watching the replay, thank you for watching. I know my grandma watches these, so hi, if my grandma's watching this. um, yeah. I hate ending things. I never know how to do it. At least I had water, although I didn't really drink that much of it. My throat is already starting to get all fucked up. Oh, Cheryl says hi too. To my grandma if you're watching. Anyway, I will see you later. And yeah, this was fun. I forgot how much I enjoyed doing these. See ya.